Hello and welcome to a video brought to you by Everything Board Game Magazine and the Games Kingdom. My name is Carl King and today we're going to be looking at an upcoming Kickstarter from Board Game Adventures designed by Raphael and Luis Enrique called The Wilderness. You can see that I've currently set this up and it's the beginning of the game, so this is how you set up the particular game, and this is for one of the scenarios in my sort of prototype that I was sent by the publishers. And this prototype is showing you basically what you're going to get in sort of the terms of board game tiles, components, player boards. The miniatures are all 3D printed, and I've undercoated the 3 survivor models that you can see here, but I've left all of the sort of monsters and beasts and wolf packs sort of painted, so you can see just how they have been sent to me. And they've, as I say, they've been 3D printed and they are very, very detailed indeed. And if you get these as part of your Kickstarter, I'm pretty certain that you're going to be very pleased with the sort of quality of the sculpts, and the detailing on them is exceptional. The bosses are quite big, so as I say, we'll have a bit of a sort of more in-depth look at the miniatures later in the video. But what is the wilderness? Well, it is a sort of dystopian world which has sort of been taken over by nature. So nature has fought back against humanity. She's had enough of what we've been doing to the planet, and she's decided to take back control. And along with that, the animals have decided that basically they want to be sort of top dogs on Earth for a change, as the humans obviously have made a complete mess of it. And your job as survivors, if you choose to play survivors, because you can also play as the wolves and or the beast, but your job as the survivors is obviously to make sure that you don't get killed and you complete the quests assigned to you, and those quests will mean your survival as the human race and ensure it continues. So in the rule book, it's currently stated that there will be 10 missions stroke quests for you to play through. You can play them in any order, or if you want to start from the beginning and work your way through to the end, it will pan out as a story stroke campaign. So you know, you can sort of take your characters along with you as you play through each of the particular scenarios. Currently I've got 6 characters here, but there will potentially be more than that by the time the Kickstarter sort of comes to fruition, and obviously if it fully funds and stretch goals and things, there might be additional bits and pieces. We've only got 2 of the beasts, but I'm sure there's going to be more than those come again Kickstarter launch. But the 2 beasts that we've got in this sort of pre-Kickstarter pack is Kitsune, who is a sort of large mutated wolf with some sort of very sort of elaborate, sort of almost like peacock-like tail. And then we also got the Revenant, a sort of large stroke giant sort of wild boar with huge tusks, and obviously a very ferocious animal to deal with. But this particular scenario, called Keep Them Out, uses Kitsune. As you can see, we've as I said, we've set this up so it's sort of almost ready to go. So basically you've got your survivors, and the turns work that you've got from sort of 4 to 6 survivors per scenario, and you have a first player. They will take the first player token, they will do their round. it will go to the wolf and beast phase, and then it will come back, and then you'll move on to the second player in your party stroke survivor pack, and then you will keep going round until either your winning conditions are met and you've completed the quest, or you lose. And you can lose directly in one way in every single one of the quests is if one of the survivors loses their life, i.e. the survivor dies, then the whole quest is lost. There are other things that you need to potentially do or can do to ensure that the quest is completed, and in this one it is you make the beast retreat with its horde, i.e. all the rest of the wolf packs, by lowering its health points to 0. So it starts on a particular set of health points, and your job is to reduce those health points to 0, and you'll do that by moving around the board. You can shoot at it, you can take wounds off it, by ranged weapons you can get into melee with it, but obviously all that time you're being potentially chased down by the wolf packs that will come onto the board during their turn. You draw chits out of a bag, and depending on what comes out of the bag at any given point, they will spawn on one or more places on the board, chosen by the person who is either looking after them as a player, or randomly determined where they're going to come out. Sometimes, as I say, you can play as the beast and or as the wolf, so that gives another little bit of added sort of replayability for people. You don't always have to play as a survivor. Sometimes it's nice to take control of the things like the monsters and things, because you get a bit more fun rather than sort of just having to sort of go around finding food and guns and things. You're actually sort of playing the nastier parts of the game. So if you were playing this perhaps with a younger group, the adult could perhaps take control of the monsters, and all the younger people could play the parts of the survivors, or you could even have one of the younger party taking the role of the beast and the monsters. So there's a lot of replayability in this system, I believe. So when it comes out to Kickstarter, you can check out what they're going to do with this, but as I say, this is a prototype version that we see here. So basically we've got different things that you can do on your turn. You've got a set amount of actions, so you can take up to 4 actions, and they can range from anything from 4 of the following. So that's movement, you can reorganize and upgrade, you can search, you can break, you can trade, you can supply, you can sort the objective, and obviously you can do combat. So let's just go through those one by one and give you a brief overview and flavour of what those actions in the game can do. So as I say, you can do up to 4. So the first one is movement, so you go from zone to zone. So each tile is made up of 9 individual zones, so you can see here 9 sort of squares, 3 by 3, and you can reorientate these in any direction. It will tell you in the scenario what direction you need to put these out on the board and in what order, and then you will move from zone to zone depending on if any of them are blocked off. So you can't move, say, from here to here because you've got the wall in the way. You would have to go round that way there, so it might take you longer. But that's your sort of movement actions. You can reorganize and upgrade, so the player can change which items their survivor is carrying and is in their inventory, so you can sort of switch from perhaps from one weapon to another weapon. So you might have a ranged combat weapon but you want to go into melee, so you can change to a melee weapon. And you'll pick up things as you go around the board and do searches, so you can, as I say, you can reorganize and upgrade your items as the game progresses, and depending on what you find and what you have in your inventory. So you can search, so when you're in an area and you come across one of these particular dials, it will show a number, and that's how many times that particular zone can still be searched to try and find pieces of equipment. And as you move along, that will come down and come down until they go down to 0, and then you will remove that from the board and that zone can no longer be searched. But obviously each of them start the game on 3 in this particular scenario, and then, as I say, as players characters move into there, you can do that search action. But don't forget, all the time that you're doing that, while you're searching, the wolves and the beast might be close by and be coming after you and take sort of bites out of you and attacking you, and or trying to achieve their objective, which in this particular scenario, not only do you lose if one of the survivors dies, you also lose if a wolf ends its turn in a zone with an objective token. So you've got to keep your eye on all of these things going on all of the time, and not just concentrate on trying to find new pieces of equipment, new weapons, that sort of thing. You've got to be wary of what the beast and the wolves are doing as the wolves appear on the board. You can do the break action, which allows you to exchange your weapons cards with a break icon for an upgrade card of both the same colour and symbol. You can trade, so if you're on a zone with another survivor, you can then agree to swap items. So you can do that on a one-to-one basis. You can give somebody a couple of items and not take anything in return if they don't have anything that you need or is any of use to you. But the items that you give to them, again, might not be any use to you, but will help them or will be an upgrade on what items they have. So you might find something that is an upgrade on an item, and then you'll be able to pass that on to another member of the team, which will benefit not only them but you as a group. You can do a supply action, which you can do on either yourself or on another person within reach, and the survivor who is the target recipient of the supply action receives the effect of the card, and then that card is discarded. So just as it says on the tin, you might have a card that benefits one of your party. You'll then be able to pass that on to them. They will get the effect of the card, and then that card is discarded. There is the objective action. So there are actions where you take to interact with the objective token, and some of these are different colours. So as you can see, these ones were set out on the board at the start of the game, and as you can see, they are slightly different colours, and there are more colours than this in the objective tokens that you get within the game. So as you can see there, so I've just flipped that over and they will go out on the board. It will tell you in the actual sort of setup rules of that particular scenario which ones you put out and where, and then you will interact with those and they will give you potentially rewards as you do that. And then obviously there are combat actions, so you can attack a wolf or a beast by a weapon that you are equipped with, whether that be a melee or ranged weapon, and each wolf that you kill or wound that you inflict on the beast will gain you, the survivor, experience points. So your character will build up experience points, a bit like a role-playing character, and you will increase those experience points throughout your quest, and then you can obviously build those experience points up to make your character better at doing certain things or better experienced at things, and then that will help you as your quest progresses. So as I say, it's a simple sort of boss battler stroke dungeon crawler. This was set up in 5-10 minutes tops, so these are the sort of games where you can break out at the beginning of or the end of an evening. If you finished a game or you're waiting for other people to turn up and there's just a few of you there, you can break this out, play a quick game of this before your main game, or you could play this as your main game and you could play this through and maybe even play more than one scenario in an evening if you're playing through the campaign. But you know, it might only be a couple of turns in and one of the party dies, and then you can reset it. It's very quick to put out and break down. There's not a huge amount of components. Some of the games that have come out in recent years similar to this, I feel take just far too long to set up and break down. I've had some of them and bought some of them, like Mythic Battles Pantheon, where I just found it was too long to do both, and in the end I got rid of them because they never got to the table, because I just couldn't be bothered in spending all of that time putting them out. Whereas this was done, as I say, 5 to 10 minutes. The whole thing was done, clearly labelled in the rule book. You put out a few pieces of the mats, a few components on the board, and that's it. You're away, you go. And if you've played this before, once you get into it, literally within 5-10 minutes you're off and running. So I think that's going to appeal to a lot of people as well, that sort of quickness of just getting going in the game itself. So let's have a look at some of the components. So we've seen some of the actual sort of cardboard components. You can see that there are 3 player boards out already, but this is another one. This is Michael Lambert, who is the Guardian. So you can see how the boards are sort of laid out. You've got different abilities, so you can do different things in the game. You've got your tracks at the top, you've got spaces for gear and cards and upgrade tokens, and then you've got your inventory slot at the bottom of the board. So these are very nice quality, even for a prototype. So as I say, we've got 6 of those. So this is Malika Adams. So again, you've got those all laid out the same. This is Nicole Garin, and as I say, each one of these has got different sort of specific things that they can do, specific skills and traits. So you know, you can discard an item to add 2 to a defense dice roll. Once per turn you can receive an item after defending a beast attack. So each one of these is going to be useful in different scenarios and games. And then you've got, obviously, this is, as I say, the model for the beast in this particular scenario. This is Kitsune. So as you can see, very nicely detailed, and I haven't as yet tried to paint these up, but I'm sure that painters are going to enjoy painting these models. And then we've got some models here of the actual player characters. As I say, I've undercoated these because I was going to paint them up, but then we've also got 1 or 2 here where we've left them unprimed. You can see I had to do some running repairs because they had broken off in transit, some of the arms and feet and things. So I've done a few sort of little gluing things with some blue tack and stuff just to repair those. The game was sent to me from South America, so it had to travel halfway across the world. And then we've got some very nice sort of werewolf type wolf creatures. And again, you can use these models not only in this game, but if you're a fan of role-playing games, you might be able to use them in those, or in some of your other forces and armies, in some skirmish games, Frostgrave for example, and stuff like that. These would work excellently well as monsters in some of those other games. So excellent sort of additions to your miniature stock for all sorts of different things. And then, as I say, on different turns or different phases of the turn, you will pull tokens out of a bag, and each of those tokens will represent one of those models that I've just shown you, and depending on what that is, that's what's going to spawn out onto the board. And they will spawn on these markers, and they will start to come out and after the survivors, after spawning in these areas. Each of these tiles, they will all spawn in different areas depending on the scenario that you're doing, so they're all individual and separate components, so they're never sort of like on the same tile for each of those scenarios. So you'll get different setup points, different denominations. Sometimes there'll be a huge square, sometimes it'll be a different setup to these, and both sides of the board are, as we showed you earlier, they are all individually done. So you've got each tile laid out with different things, so you've got sort of ruined cars on them. You know, this is sort of like, as I said, an overgrown city, so your party is going through these areas trying to find things to survive the new dystopian age. And then we've got the other major beastie, the Revenant. So again, I think this is going to be an excellent model to paint up. So very, very detailed, and if this is going to be what you get in the game as a plastic stroke resin miniature, then there's going to be some happy painters out there, because these are going to be very nice to sort of finish off and get them painted to a decent standard and out in the game. So there you go, that's a quick view of some of the miniatures, and what we'll do now, we'll just have a bit of a fly around. So you also get some decks of cards, and those cards are sort of based on the monsters. So here you can see the deck for each of the 2 monsters that came with my prototype, and then you've got a set of cards here for equipment. So you've got axes, pickaxes, camouflage gear, hoods, megaphone, food, and then on here you've got all your range stuff, your melee, accuracy cards, rusty pipes, shotguns. So you've got a lot of stuff going into this sort of what I assume will be part of the core box, and then you get some D6 and some D10s, and you will roll those, and those rolls will determine your combats and things like that. And here we go, we'll just have a quick fly across, and as I say, this is the setup for one of the 2 scenarios in the book. I have actually played through this particular scenario when I did before I did a written review for Everything Board Games Magazine, and it played very well, as I say, very quickly, and yeah, I got defeated, lost one of the survivors unfortunately, but yeah, it was very enjoyable, and as I say, the turns went very quickly. There wasn't that much gaps once I got into the swing of how the turn sequences went. So yeah, if you're looking for the next sort of boss battler that will sort of fit into your collection, and if you think this is going to be something that you and your group will like to play, then check out the upcoming Kickstarter for the Wilderness. And until we do another one of these, it's bye for now.